if you open, for example, LinkedIn, you'd see many creators using generative AI without giving it a lot of thoughts, and not just creators, also CEOs sometimes. And you see this flood of generic content or blog posts, and now there are already precautions for it. For example, LinkedIn tries to not block it, but to let's say not push it that much, or Google is not indexing AI generated content, and so on.
So hi guys, this is Eamon. I'm back with another episode of Mindful Marketing, and today I'm happy to have Valeriya with us today, who is an expert in AI and marketing. And we have a very interesting topic to talk about today, which is how the human touch in AI can lead to your next big marketing campaign. So all over to you. Can you tell us, Valeriya, what does the human touch in marketing actually mean to you when it comes to AI specifically?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Maybe I tell a few words about me first, so that you also understand the context of what I'm saying. So I'm have my background in marketing analytics, or actually in consulting, but I've been exposed to AI, rather traditionally AI, machine learning AI, for over 5 years, but rather from the business side. So we had data scientists who would run, for example, marketing mix model for us. It's where you get lots of data from customers, from all the marketing channels. And then I was the one who would interpret the model results to the business, so to marketing, to sales, so that they can actually take these actionable insights and implement it in their marketing campaigns. And I've also got exposure as a CMO of a startup, Mix and Match. It's AI based search engine for fashion, so fashion tech startup in Frankfurt in Germany. There I'm actually the head of marketing, or the CMO, and there we implement a lot of, let's say, hands-on AI automation workflows for the startup, because as you can imagine, it's in a startup you never have enough time to do everything, so you have to use some help, and AI is a great help. So, and I'm also consulting and training businesses, also mostly marketing teams, for different AI use cases, or like how to build their own tools or automation workflows. So back to your question, for me, it's a necessity. Human touch in marketing is a necessity. I strongly believe in the collaboration between AI and marketers, AI and humans, because obviously AI is not a magic pill.
Yeah.
It's very good at certain tasks. It's not that good at other tasks, especially when it comes to creativity. AI has been trained, if we're talking about generative AI, for example, on massive amounts of data that are available online. And essentially what it does, it predicts the next word, but it's not truly creative. So basically it takes what it's more or less already there and synthesizes it somehow. But it's not truly creative. It's not truly imaginative. Right? Even if we talk about the traditional AI, it's rather about pattern recognition. So it recognizes, it works with huge amounts of data, and it learns the patterns, and it can suggest something or predict something. But again, it's not a creativity. So I would say human touch is necessary, whether we talk about the creative parts, or whether we talk about content creation or about customer support. It's absolutely necessary. So AI would, for example, in my experience, where it works very well in businesses, AI takes, let's say, the more standard processes, the more processes that are less customer-facing processes, maybe the processes that run rather on the background. Maybe it's research, and maybe it's again like huge data analysis, whether it's like consumer sentiment or customer queries and so on. But when it comes to the customer-facing activities, maybe even publishing the final copy with this research, or working on the complex customer query, then I believe the humans are required.
That's true. So, how do you think the role of AI in marketing specifically has evolved over the years after specifically, AI, ChatGPT, and all of them have become very common? So, how do you think marketing has changed after that?
Yeah, it's changed a lot. If we look back 5 years back, let's say, obviously marketers and big companies have been using, as I mentioned, machine learning to do, for example, to improve personalization. So to improve that personalization algorithm, you know what Netflix does. Every time you open Netflix, it's a different experience for me and for you and for everybody else because they try to customize it. But it was, let's say, accessible to bigger companies, to those who have lots of customer data. They were on the top. Well, now it's what we see is a democratization of AI. So everybody can access ChatGPT, obviously, generative AI, and you can start using it without these huge amounts of customer data. So suddenly every company has this leverage from huge corporation to a startup, and they can use this resource. So it's a significant change, and it has many consequences of what we've seen. For example, good ones, obviously, like increasing productivity and again, freeing up the resources for human creativity, so many of these positive things. On the other hand, we see many also not so positive things. Like those are the ethical aspects. For example, many artists or even authors, they claim AI to be trained on their work. And obviously those big tech companies, they don't ask the permission. They just scrape all the data that is available online. So the ethical aspects or the content becoming generic. Now, if you open, for example, LinkedIn, you'd see many creators using generative AI without giving it a lot of thoughts, and not just creators, also CEOs sometimes. And you see this flood of generic content or blog posts, and now there are already precautions for it. For example, LinkedIn tries to not block it, but to let's say not push it that much, or Google is not indexing AI generated content and so on. But still, these are all issues that we are currently facing as well, or these are the changes that we've been observing the past few years.
That's right. So since my podcast is more related towards empathy in marketing and the use of emotional intelligence in marketing, so what role do you think does empathy play when it comes to AI-driven marketing? Like you said that a lot of, our websites do not rank because of using AI, and LinkedIn does not push, posts that include a lot of AI generated content. So how do you think that we as individuals can use empathy in order to push our marketing campaigns while also, complementing them with AI?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm a fan of automations, for example, or again, using AI where it makes sense. And I mentioned a few use cases like research, whether it's a customer research. I feel like it's a good use case or amazing use case for AI because see, every company has obviously a customer facing company, which is every company, whether it's a B2C or B2B. They have lots of data about their customers, which often they don't use. It's often just they scattered across organizations. They don't even look at it. Only few have made an effort to somehow consolidate this data and bring it together. But if they did, they can perfectly use AI because human will not be able to process all this data, structured data. I'm talking about an unstructured data like customer reviews and everything that customers write about you on the web. But this is where AI could help. So these are very valuable insights as a marketer or even a business owner you could get from huge amounts of customer data, right? That's available to you. So, for example, this is a perfect use case where AI can augment marketers and businesses because, again, it's not end consumer facing. It's something that you do on the background. And then as a marketer, as a human, you take those insights that are generated from this analysis, from AI-driven analysis, and then you actually transform those insights, for example, into new products, new marketing campaigns, new communication strategies, or even brand positioning, and so on. So this would be the perfect use case of how marketers can work together with AI without being too generic or without actually damaging brand reputation.
That's right. So do you think that customers can now identify between human-centric and AI content, or do you think that people still do not have that much knowledge and you can, just get away with using AI?
Yeah, it depends, I would say. Right, there are more complex systems now. I mean, obviously, if you would say, if you put a very generic prompt on ChatGPT saying, "Hey, write me a blog post about, I don't know, about AI tools," just as example, and I mean, obviously, you're going to see it, right? You're going to see all these words like game changer and wealth and this typical structure with all sentences be in the same length and being very repetitive that typically generative AI is using, everybody's able to identify those now. Whereas there are more complex tools. I mean, there are tools available. You probably heard of them for copywriting, also for LinkedIn copywriting. They're also like divided by different use cases. With some of them, you can create a blog copy, with some of them LinkedIn copy. And if those tools are augmented with your personal insights, for example, with your personal brand stories or with your brand identity voice, if those tools are trained on content that you've been publishing as a brand, for example, or as a personal brand, then this become almost, I would say, people from outside would almost not able to differentiate between it, because AI is very good at mimicking. Or if we talk about generative AI, even if you provided 5 examples of your brand voice, it will be able to mimic it pretty well. And obviously, the more you provide, the better it gets. So I would say in this case, it will be hard from outside to differentiate it.
That's right. So a lot of marketeers, they believe that, after AI, there's a lot of, fields in marketing as well. So a lot of copywriters or content writers, they've actually lost their job after the emergence of AI. Similarly, we have the SEO field, the graphic designing field. So what do you think about, what's your take on this about when it comes to AI and marketing specifically? Do you think that people are going to be losing their jobs because of AI? And if yes, then what is that one category, or you can say one personality trait that can differentiate an AI-driven marketeer from a human marketeer?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think there will be shifts in the job market, and if we talk especially about marketing professions as well, I don't think it's going to be fully replaced. I think it's again just marketers have to be aware about the changes, and I would say they have to upskill themselves. And I'm talking about also different marketing professionals, right? I'm talking about copywriters, or from, let's say, from marketing area, designers, or if you're, I don't know, doing the media strategy or basically anything else. So I think upskilling is important and learning how to leverage those tools. Even on the place of copywriters, I can imagine that previously you need, I don't know, a day to create an article or a few hours to create an article. And now you can actually offer to your clients a system that creates articles that are using brand voice, that are working very well to your clients. You see what I mean? For example, me, I don't have, I'm not a copywriter, right? And I can write okayish copy and writing on LinkedIn, but I don't know all of those things that actual copywriter knows. I don't know all of those psychological hooks. I don't know exactly. I haven't read millions of books in my life to understand that. I haven't learned all of those concepts. So I'm not be able to produce with AI the copy that the copywriter with AI is able to produce, just because they can differentiate what a good copy is and what the bad copy is. And if you see what I mean, that I'm sure that copywriters who can use AI and can actually help brands that they produce copy on, let's say, autopilot, but which sounds like this brand, which does not sound AI generated. I think it's an augmentation for them. And I don't think in this case they will lose their jobs. So I think if you asked about the trade, I would say it's now everybody's talking about growth mindset. And I think it's very important because currently so many things are changing. If you observe in the landscape, all of these AI tools are changing, or they got new models, and then there is an agent, and then everybody's talking about AGI. Like artificial general intelligence or super intelligence. So you have to always be flexible or agile in your mind, and you have to always see, okay, how can I augment my profession? How can I use this tool to be better? Yeah, what I want to say is that for example, ignoring AI, generative AI, all of those developments is bad, because it's a huge also change that we are observing now, and it's better if, let's say, you go with the change and try to adapt it for for your business and to see how it evolves rather than just close your eyes and think that nothing will happen and nothing is happening.
That's true. So a lot of marketeers, or even companies, they are now focusing more on quantity instead of quality after the emergence of AI. So, for example, if we take example of content writers, where firms, they were producing 5 pieces of content, now they're producing 20 pieces of content, and the same goes for other fields of marketing as well. So everything is being done so fast. So do you actually agree with this way of going on in marketing, that quantity is better than quality when it comes to AI? Or is this the wrong way that we're going?
I would say it's a wrong way because again, people who consume the content, they're getting tired. We've heard even the past year, again, I mentioned many AI generated content on LinkedIn, and we heard that many people who are more also, let's say, higher positions, C-suite position, and or people who were actually using LinkedIn for actual connection and for intellectual discussions, they were getting very tired of it. So the platform even that's why the platform started blocking or not pushing the content forward. I would say the quality should be still first in marketing. And again, it's about, you can write back to the copywriting discussion. You can write 10 pieces of copy, but it will be generic and it will not even motivate your customers to make a purchase because let's say there is always a goal behind writing a certain piece of copy. For businesses, it's often conversion or it's building up a brand reputation, right? And if you write 10 pieces of copy, but then you don't reach your goal because it doesn't really click with your customers, then what are you doing, right? Then better write one, but that actually brings you something, some business value. Either position your brand in a better way, better light, or actually bring in your customers, convert some customers. So I think now we're still riding this hype wave, but it's going to slow down in a way that people will understand it, or they will actually crave the human connection. We've seen it also with like AI generated comments everywhere. That now myself, when I see those, I start blocking them because I don't want them to have AI generated comments under my posts. I want to actually have natural conversations with intellectual people and not with AI tools. So people start noticing it and they start protesting and they start again getting back to this human connection, human touch.
Right. So there's a lot of clutter on the internet right now. Again, even for those people who know how to use AI very wisely and they're able to, change the content and everything. But there's a lot of clutter still on the internet because the quantity has somewhat increased after the use of AI. It's very easy to generate content and even good content if you're good at, writing and all. So how can you actually cut through all that clutter and make yourself get noticed? What's your take on that?
Yeah, I would say for brands or businesses, you have to make breakthrough content now, right? And you have to make a content that no AI can replicate.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that, for example, podcasts, interviews, real field studies, something that it's not just you put into the machine and it writes for you, right? Something that really it's challenging now. So it's a challenge now for businesses, but to stand out, they have to go this way, right? Or even we started at the beginning, you started talking about creativity, and we said, okay, actually, AI is not so creative because it uses what already has been produced. So trying to get even more creative and trying to just yeah create somehow breakthrough content. I know it sounds a bit vague, but it's the reality.
That's right. So how can brands, according to you, use AI tools, in the current age? How can they use AI tools to also predict the consumer behavior when it specifically comes to marketing? How a consumer will be reacting to a particular campaign. Do you think that they can do that? And if yes, then what AI tools do you think they can use?
Well, when we talk about predicting consumer behavior, we are back into the traditional AI. So it's not a generative AI. Generative AI or the tools that are available, they will generate something new, something the copy and so on, images, visuals. When we talk about predicting, it's rather machine learning and it's based on the data. So to predict consumer behavior, although those companies have to start with the data, which is a huge problem. I have been working with the companies, and I know that the data is, yeah, it's just everywhere and nowhere. And they have to start with actually looking at their data, what they have, what they can get available online. For example, they have to start cleaning, synthesizing this data. And here it's rather about building their own AI models than relying on the external tool to predict the behavior.
That's right. So there are a lot of tools out there, and even agents, like we were talking about AGI. So there are a lot of sales agents out there. There's email marketing agents as well, and there's also an agent to do a podcast as well. So what do you think? Will these actually work in the future, and can they be humanized as well? Just like all the other type of content and marketing ways are being humanized.
Uh, it's uh, it's a great question, and full transparency, I don't know. For sure, we will be using agents more and more, and we will get accustomed for example, calling and talking to an agent, and we will be accustomed to having our own personal agent, where you can just, send the voice notes and it books all the appointments for you that you need or sends the emails. It's already possible to do it now. It's been possible to do it 5 years ago already. Uh, and more people will be using those, and more businesses will be using those as well. Whether they're going to be humanized, I'm not sure, to be honest. I just think that businesses obviously always have to see the opportunities, from one hand to be more profitable, from the other hand to cut unnecessary costs. And if they have this opportunity, they will go for it. And I would say people will just get accustomed to talking to a sales agent, or even talking to a AI coach, for example. And there has been studies that show that people are um, even more open when talking to the AI therapist than a human therapist, because they don't have this kind of feeling of judgment. Um, and I think it's going to come more and more. I'm not sure if it's going to be really like humanized, but I think we just get more accustomed to it.
That's right. So how do you think that marketeers can actually create a balance between automation, because we're talking about agents and all of that. So how can they create a balance between automation and being authentic with their customers?
Yeah, I think it's important to be transparent
Yeah,
in all of the cases, whether it's a chatbot on your website, it's a simple, let's say, simplest use case. Everybody's using those also a few years back. So just being transparent that the person who's coming to the website, they're talking to chatbot, AI powered chatbot, for example, but not to real human support. But always given an opportunity to also talk to human support. Also, just to be more inclusive. I imagine that we are at some at some point in our own bubble, or at some extent. For example, myself as well, I'm surrounded by people who are super smart about AI, who are very mostly also younger, and they know all the stack details. They very got accustomed very quickly to all the news and innovations. What we don't see is that there are many people, for example, elderly people, or I don't know, even people in some organizations. So I've been noticing that big corporates are rather slower in their employees and adjusting to all of these AI tools and AI hypes rather than small agile businesses. And there are certain, let's say, also population groups that are not, yeah, how do I say, not accustomed to talking to a bot or to a AI sales agent. And we also have to be able to protect those, and to be more inclusive. And I would say it's also a job of the businesses and marketers to give this opportunity. And for someone who wants, then they can simply chat or call with this AI agent. It's faster, it's more efficient. But I would say it's important to have an opportunity still to talk to a real human somehow, and to reach out to the company.
that's right. So what do you think are the complete don'ts of marketing when it comes to AI? Like something that we should never do in marketing using AI?
Oh, that's a great question. I would say using it unethically
Yeah.
or using it without, by unethically, I mean, for example, not asking permission or not being transparent about AI, for example, analyzing all of the consumer behavior and so on for marketing purposes or advertising purposes, right? So like if you are transparent about those and you ask, hey, can we personalize your experience? For this, we will need to basically analyze your data. And if they get the permission, then of course, go on. But if not, then obviously they should not do it. So I think this is like ethics or transparency is a very important part.
That's right.
Yeah, and yeah, yeah, go on.
So when you're talking about transparency, I always have this, debate that even ChatGPT, it came in the middle that they're using our data without our permission. So do you think that ethics ever plays a role in AI? Because when you're using AI, automatically you have signed up to give up all your data. So do you think that's right?
I don't think so. And actually, you can. I think more education is needed. That's the first one. Actually, you can turn off the model being trained on your data almost with every tool. I think more regulations are needed. And me talking from Germany, we do have a lot, and sometimes it's hinders businesses, but I think they are required. For example, GDPR regulations and so on. So those companies are not actually, without my permission, they are not allowed to use my data, and I can always object and ask them to delete the data. So it's very strict. Um, I don't think it's okay to train it. I honestly I don't think it's okay to take the artist's work as well and to train the machines.
Yeah.
But currently it's still very new. Even if we talk about 3 years, it's still very new, and there are still like regulations that are being developed,
Yes.
and we're still learning. And I think it's right from both sides, from customers and the governance or the regulations, for example, from businesses, but also from individuals. Will have to be more educated as well. We have to educate ourselves, like how to what digital footprint do I have. There are tools that actually, for example, delete or auto delete all your comments and latest posts, so everything you've done somewhere online, which is, for example, could be an example. And I think more education is needed, and each of us is at the end responsible for our own data.
So at the end of the podcast, would you like to give any advice to all of those marketers or out there? And yes, I would want you to use the words mindful and marketing in between all of whatever you're going to say.
That's challenging. That's very challenging. Yeah, I would say that don't shy away from AI and don't panic and don't be afraid about it. Learn, experiment. I think experimentation or this growth mindset, experimenting, it's very important. And be mindful about your AI use, especially when it comes to end customer interaction.
That's right. Thank you so much for Valeria for coming on our show. It was very nice meeting you, and I learned a lot about, AI and marketing from you as well. Thank you.